Sergio Perez is not out of his Red Bull seat after a disappointing first half of the 2024 season. By the end of this video, you will know why he is staying. This is going to be the biggest story in F1 this year because of how it affects the Constructors' Championship and driver market. The drop in Perez's form behind the wheel of the RB20 has caused a considerable stir in the F1 driver market, and rumors have continued to swirl about what Red Bull were going to do about it. Christian Horner and Helmut Marko met Monday after the Spa Grand Prix to make a decision on Perez's future with the team, and Horner had this to say: "We look forward to seeing him perform at tracks he has previously excelled at after the summer break." Why is Perez still in at Red Bull? As you saw in Horner's statement with regards to Perez's future, he mentioned the team looks forward to see Perez excel at tracks he's done well at in the past. The third and fourth race after the summer break, Azerbaijan and Singapore, are two tracks where Perez really does well at, and so the team are hoping he can find his form, which he has recently lost at these two Grand Prix, tracks where Perez has also won 3 out of his 5 Red Bull wins. Red Bull seem to still have faith in the Mexican driver and really want him to get back to better performances like he's shown in the past. After the Singapore Grand Prix, there is an unusual 3-week break, so could this time be used once again by Red Bull to evaluate Perez's recent performances? Only time will tell. Why Perez is a risky choice. Since Perez's debut with the Red Bull F1 team at the start of the 2021 F1 season, he actually did a very good job, winning 5 races in total, and played a very important role in Max Verstappen winning his first F1 title in the controversial 2021 season finale in Abu Dhabi, where he held up Lewis Hamilton and allowed Verstappen to close the huge gap Hamilton had built. Since then, Red Bull have been dominating the new ground effect era in F1, and Perez even ended second in the Drivers' Championship for 2023. A look at more recent times, though, things have not been going according to plan for Red Bull's number 2 driver. Since Perez's downturn in form started at the Miami Grand Prix, the gap to McLaren in the Constructors' Championship has gone from 115 to 42 after the recent Spa Grand Prix. McLaren honing in and could become even stronger than Red Bull and steal the Constructors if Red Bull cannot fight with both their drivers. What has gone wrong? For the 2024 season so far, things didn't get off to a bad start for the Mexican veteran driver, with podiums at Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Japan, and his last podium for the year so far came in China. From the next race in Miami until now, the results have slowly but surely gotten worse, and on top of that, Perez was offered a new contract at Red Bull right before the Monaco Grand Prix, keeping him with the team until 2026. Unfortunately for Perez, he crashed out in Monaco, not the best way to celebrate your new contract, I'd say. But as we all know, average results are not good enough for a team like Red Bull, and understandably so. Then came the crash in free practice at the Silverstone Grand Prix, and another bad finish in the race where he ended up 2 laps down. Along came the Hungary Grand Prix, and with it a big qualifying crash from Perez. Perez started 16th and did well to end 7th in the race, and was applauded for his efforts by team boss Christian Horner. But the fact remains, though, why is a Red Bull RB20 starting from P16 in the first place? This causes distrust between the team and driver, as this was not the first time. When Perez was asked about his recent form, he said, "I have a contract with the team, and I will turn things around." What could the future hold for Red Bull? We all know Red Bull have been the most ruthless team in F1 when it comes to cutting drivers who don't perform. A lot of the drivers have been from their junior team, Visa Cash App RB, and who got a shot but couldn't make it stick due to the pressure put onto them too soon, and also for trying to keep up with Verstappen, and failing. Here's a 2 of those drivers to refresh your memory who both received the axe before Sergio Perez got the seat: Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon. When Christian Horner was asked about Perez's recent performances, he said, "There's 2 McLarens, 2 Ferraris, 2 Mercedes. We desperately need there to be 2 Red Bulls." When Red Bull offered Perez his new contract, a clause was put in that if he is 100 points behind Max at the summer break, he can be dropped from the team. There was a glimmer of hope during qualifying for the Spa Grand Prix, where Perez put his RB20 on the front row, but was quickly muscled aside by Hamilton at the start of the race, and by the end of the Grand Prix, Perez fell to 8th, which has now changed to 7th after Russell's post-race disqualification. Verstappen only managed a 5th-place finish at Spa after putting the car on pole but taking a 10-place grid penalty for taking a new power unit. Red Bull's pace advantage has definitely gotten less in recent races, with a surge of form from Mercedes and McLaren. As of the end of Spa Grand Prix and the official start of the summer break, Perez is 146 points behind Verstappen and has fallen to 7th in the Drivers' Championship standings. Who should replace Perez? Liam Lawson, Red Bull's junior and reserve driver, stood in for Ricciardo last year for 5 races whilst Ricciardo recovered from a hand injury sustained in practice at Zandvoort. Lawson really delivered during those 5 races and impressed Red Bull management. That performance basically got him a promised seat for 2025 alongside Tsunoda in the RB team. Lawson recently did a Red Bull promotional event at Silverstone where he tested the Red Bull RB20. Red Bull used a reference lap time from Verstappen to compare Lawson to, and it is understood that his times were a few tenths off the target, which was good enough for Horner and his men. If Lawson doesn't get a seat from Red Bull for 2025, he'll become a free agent in the F1 driver market. What are Daniel Ricciardo's options then? The safe pick would be to promote Ricciardo, an 8-time Grand Prix winner and 29 podiums with Red Bull in his heyday after the summer break, and give his RB seat to Lawson. Therefore, Lawson would have the rest of the 2024 F1 season to get back up to pace and be ready for a full season in 2025 with RB, alongside Tsunoda. When Ricciardo was asked about his chances for the Red Bull seat, he said, "I haven't been told anything, but I've told myself to go fast. You've got 2 races to give it hell." This was obviously Ricciardo referring to the summer break Red Bull decision time cutoff date. Lastly, how can we forget about good old Yuki Tsunoda? Tsunoda, a product of the Red Bull Junior program. Tsunoda's performances at RB have just kept on improving, and he is now starting to develop into a very solid, consistent F1 driver, unlike his early days where his attitude and language seemed to get the better of him. Dr. Helmut Marko, who is in charge of the Red Bull Junior program's drivers, has been in favor of awarding Tsunoda the Red Bull seat. But then again, there are days where he is in favor of Lawson, and we all know who Horner wants in the Red Bull seat. Mr. Ricciardo himself. When Tsunoda was asked about what he thought about Lawson getting the Red Bull seat over him, he said, "If they choose Liam, that'd be weird," which is a fair comment to make seeing as he's been in F1 with the Red Bull Junior team since 2021, back when they were called AlphaTauri. I mean, what is the point of a junior team ladder if another member just gets to leapfrog straight into the A team and not fight it out in the B team first? Red Bull have made the wrong decision. In the last 8 races, Verstappen has managed to gather 141 points, and Perez only a shocking 28. Yes, the RB20 seems to be a bit behind on pace at the moment compared to the beginning of the season, but the car is still more than good enough to score a lot of points at every single race. Verstappen himself has said, "We're a bit lost, and you can see the Red Bull team is not at their best. Verstappen has gone winless for 4 races in a row. This is the first time since 2020 that has happened. Perez has had enough time. Ricciardo should get the seat after the summer break. I mean, that's why Horner brought him back into the Red Bull fold in the first place, right? Give Lawson the rest of the year in the RB team. Allow him to prove himself against the more experienced Tsunoda and see if Ricciardo can find that old killer instinct that he's seemed to have lost. If Ricciardo cannot perform by the end of the year, give the better of the 2 RB drivers a seat next to Verstappen.